Flavio comes out and goes, "Phew, I heard from somewhere he's only got 5 races. Don't know where they got that from. Your Twitter page, Flavio. The team said it. The team said it. So goodness knows what the plan is there. Everyone made a thing of the 5 races, and Flavio's like, don't know where people have got that from. Alpine, Flavio. That's where people have got that from. Alpine."
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Fast and the Curious podcast. What a race we have got to debrief today. So good that I'm doing it in the sunshine, just because why not? As is Christian. I'm Betty Glover, no Greg James today, but Christian Hugel is with me. Christian, I absolutely loved it. I loved it. I loved everything about it. It was brilliant.
I loved it. It's just put me in a great mood. So I was outside this morning. You've had a busy day. I've had a busy day. I ran one of them Spartan races, like grown-up obstacle course today. Oh, yeah. So I did that. Just enjoyed being outside. Watched the race. Saw the sun blaring still, and I was like, I'm going outside. So I've got myself a beer as well. Like,
you've got
cheers!
Yourself a beer.
Got myself a beer. I deserve it. Done a 12.5k Spartan race. Yeah, I deserve it. So I'm celebrating the fact that I've done a thing. We've had a great Grand Prix, the sun's shining. I mean, it's just great times, isn't it?
By the end of this podcast, you could be speaking very differently if you drink that very quickly.
I mean, it's just one beer and I've had a big lunch, so I think I'll be all right.
Yeah, I know, but you might be severely dehydrated after your race. Might go to your head quickly, you never know.
Yeah,
I know what you're like when you've had a drink, Christian.
I'm all right when I've had a drink. Don't be slandering me. I'm okay.
But anyway, let's talk about the racing, because how bloody good was that? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was such a good Grand Prix. And I think we've got to be a little bit careful when we are very quick to sort of say that the older, tighter circuits aren't going to give us a good race. Because, I mean, I did say in the preview, it might be a dull one. So I'm as much to blame as anyone. But it wasn't. It was absolutely brilliant, because I really liked that they had to work so hard to overtake. I really like the sort of added element of drama that there's gravel traps close by. It was a really good Grand Prix. It was brilliant fun.
Yeah, so much going on as well, because you've got the McLaren battle. You've got Max Verstappen just doing Max Verstappen things. Fair play to him, absolute class. And then you had that fantastic recovery from Ferrari as well. So we've got so much to get into. But this might be a little bit of a strange question. But like, why was it such a good race? The safety car obviously helps, but yeah, why was it so good?
Yeah, the safety car and the virtual safety car definitely helped, of course, but want to give a little bit of credit to Formula One, in particular to Pirelli, because they sort of learnt. By the way, I live near Heathrow Airport, so I am doing it outside and I'm having a nice time. I'm not making any apologies for that, but you might get the odd plane. So that's fine though, isn't it? Listen, it's a podcast, it's atmosphere. I've done podcasts in stranger places. Yeah, so the fact that we had quite a dull one in Japan wasn't just because Japan's a tight track and one of the other old school ones, but because the tyres were too hard. So everybody breezed through a one-stop strategy. There was no strategy at all. So F1 sort of goes to Imola a few races later, thinks we've got another tight circuit. So they got Pirelli to bring a much softer tyre. It was less durable. It created more of a lottery in terms of strategy. So a bit of clever thinking from Formula One and from Pirelli helped make it a really, really good Grand Prix and prove that, yes, even though it's tight, you get a good exit in the final chicane and run down into turn one, you've got a good overtaking opportunity. So you could overtake, different strategy, safety car, classic race in terms of an old school classic in Imola, and a great Grand Prix. Lovely.
If Greg James was dead, he'd be turning in his grave at you opening this podcast by talking about tyres, because he hates tyre chat.
He does hate tyre chat, and a lot of people do. I don't mind a bit of tyre chat, you know. I quite like a tyre chat, and today we need to thank the tyres. So, sorry, Greg, while he's not here, while the cat's away, the mice will play, and I will start this podcast by breaking the team principal's commands and talking about tyres. What's he going to do about it? He's on his way to Radio 1's big weekend as we speak. He can't do nothing about it.
Christian, don't mention cats on this podcast again. I think we've done too much of that. Don't bring up the cat subject, please.
Okay, so this was from last time we were on, and we had Alex Albon. If you missed the last episode, go back and listen to it. We had Alex Albon and George Russell on. We asked Alex how the cat was, and Alex said the cat had died. All very sad. Two things I want to pick up on from that episode. People being like, how can you call yourself proper F1 journalist if you don't follow Albon Pets? We can't consume every bit of Formula One social media. There's
I
loads of
do
it.
follow them, by the way, but I just never saw that post.
Just never saw that the cat
It didn't
died.
come
Sorry.
up.
And also, because George mentioned the rookie video they did years and years ago, we had, again, some people actually moaning, but I can't believe you'd never heard of that. Oh, get a life. Sometimes we won't have seen every single video. And sorry, like, have you seen how much Formula One content there is?
In our defence, 2019, guys. I can't remember what happened last week.
Long time ago.
2019.
Can't remember every video that gets posted. Anyway, yeah, should talk about the race.
Yeah, let's talk about Max Verstappen because he was brilliant. So good. And by the way, there's now 23 points that separate the top three, which is very exciting. It's on. It's on, guys. It is on. This is a good Formula One season. Enjoy it, soak it up, because I am. But Max and Red Bull did everything right, didn't they? Max was just so fast. I think a good question to ask you, though, is did Max win that race or did Oscar lose it at the start?
I actually think both are true. And I think Oscar did a really nice summary of his race with David Coulthard at the end, just after he'd got out of the car. Max Verstappen didn't get off the line brilliantly. In Formula One, we talk about phases of the start, and his phase one, his launch off the line, I don't think it was bad, but it wasn't better than Oscar's. And I think Oscar, because he'd had a good phase one and was ahead, relaxed too much. And I think it caught him out. And he was not expecting in a million years Max the Daredevil Verstappen to throw it up the inside the way he did. But this wasn't over-aggressive Max. This wasn't Max taking it too far like we've seen in the past. This was Max getting it absolutely perfect. Aggressive, fully in control of the car, gave Oscar room. That was one of the great lap one, turn one overtaking manoeuvres. Harry Benjamin said it in commentary. I completely agree with him. I thought the same thing. A really brilliant overtaking manoeuvre. So huge credit to Max. But then Oscar lost it because he admitted he could have carried more speed into that corner. He could have braked later. And then, unfortunately, McLaren lost it because Lando said he didn't think McLaren had the pace to win anyway today. I don't know. I don't think that's the case. I think if McLaren had aced their strategy, they probably could have got back in front. Possibly, who knows? But the decision to two-stop Oscar and pit him early doors didn't look like a good one, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're going to get on to McLaren's strategy because there's lots of question marks over that. But I was listening to the sort of post-race interviews and Christian Horner was sort of saying like, oh, well, McLaren, you know, they weren't going to sort of overly push it at the end because they know where they are in this championship and blah, blah, blah. And like, we know where we are, whatever. He was sort of, what the way I took it was McLaren know that they're in the lead. They're probably going to win. You know, they sort of had to play it a little bit safe, whatever. And I'm sat there thinking, hold on a second. Red Bull are fully in this. Like, all this talk about McLaren winning, Red Bull could surely... They're still in this championship hunt, aren't they?
They are still in this championship hunt, yes. Are they fully in it? No. I don't think they've got a car that even in Max Verstappen's hands can win every race. So you do therefore think, okay, well, what races can they win? They can only win races where Max is happy with the setup and happy with the way the car feels. This was one of them today. They've got a car where in a superhuman's hands, i.e. Max Verstappen, they can probably win the race. I think it would be one of the great sporting achievements for Max to win this Grand Prix, to win this championship, I should say, because I don't think the car is up to scratch. So actually, I sort of agree. I sort of think McLaren will win the Constructors' Championship. They just will, because
they've got two drivers.
They've got two drivers. Yuki isn't showing that he can get podiums. He just isn't. So I think the Constructors' Championship's sewn up, and it's probably a 70% likelihood that one of the McLaren drivers will win the drivers. So I sort of get it. I sort of see what Christian's saying. But can Max be ruled out? No. He is the best driver in Formula One at this moment, comfortably. He is one of the greats of Formula One history. He is at his peak. He is operating at a higher level than anyone else on that grid. And for that reason, they're not out of it, sure, but they're not fully in it. So I actually think Christian's probably right on that one.
Oh, Max Verstappen is just so good, isn't he? If anybody can do it, it's going to be Max Verstappen. And I think, you know, a lot of people have been asking these questions about McLaren for a while. And I guess we can get into it a little bit in a second, but just about like, are McLaren going to screw themselves over by not having a number one driver? And that is, it's interesting. Will they? I don't know. But let's talk about McLaren, because will they be happy with that race overall? 2 drivers on the podium. They scored a lot of points. They can walk away with that thinking, okay, that's not bad.
Jacques Villeneuve on Sky was very Jacques Villeneuve about this. I think Jacques great on Sky. I really enjoy listening to his opinions. And I think he said that unless McLaren are 1-2, they'll be unhappy. And I agree with that. I think he went harder on McLaren than I would. That's Jacques' style. He digs the knife in. But actually, I believe McLaren have the quickest car. And I believe that any results for them other than a 1-2, they will be disappointed with. But in terms of what the team did wrong today, probably they only got wrong Oscar's strategy. Oscar shouldn't have two-stopped. It's a forgivable mistake because it wasn't clear-cut. So it's unlucky, but it was the wrong call strategy-wise. They handled Lando very, very well. Their driver in Oscar made the turn 1 mistake. And I actually believe that they handled the situation where you found, the way the race shook out with the safety cars, you had Lando in third on better tyres and Oscar in second on older ones. I sort of was thinking, what would I do in this situation? This is a nightmare situation. And I actually thought, what I'd do? I think I'd do nothing. I think Oscar's found himself in second. He qualified better, so we'll probably give him the advantage. He's leading the championship, so we'll probably give him the advantage. Lando's become ahead of Oscar because we sort of ballsed up the strategy. Said, you know what, it's sort of 50-50. Let's just let it shake out on the track. That's exactly what they did do. Huge credit to Lando and Oscar, who were the utmost in professionalism in battling on track. That was brilliant. A brilliant move from Lando. Like, fantastic, brave, bold, to the limit overtaking. And Oscar knew when to give it up and not be silly and push his teammate off. So I don't think McLaren got as much wrong as perhaps people like Jacques are saying they did today.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because also if McLaren had just made that decision and went, well, Lando's on better tyres, Oscar let Lando go, then they wouldn't have wasted as much time.
Possibly.
And maybe Max wouldn't have got as far ahead as he was.
Possibly,
maybe it would have been a different conversation.
And it's not clear cut, and that is a completely valid viewpoint that I entirely sympathise with. Yes. However, do I think, I personally, at that stage of the race, very much doubt that if McLaren had got on the phone and said, right, Oscar, get out of the way of Lando straight away so Lando can go and attack Max, I think that probably would have been a little unfair on Oscar's championship, considering what I was saying earlier, that he's leading, he qualified best, and they're probably going to win anyway. And would Max Verstappen have been caught by McLaren at that phase? I don't think he would. Not at that point in the race. I think he was home and dry by then. I don't think they'd have got past. So actually, there was the mistake in strategy. There was Oscar's individual mistake. Lando had a great Sunday. We'll talk about Lando in a minute more, but they didn't get loads wrong today.
Andrea Stella said afterwards, and this is what made me change my viewpoint a little bit, because at first I was just like, for God's sake, make a decision and stop wasting time. But actually, when I heard him say afterwards, the reason why we did that is we thought, well, if Lando is a lot quicker than Oscar, then he's going to end up overtaking him anyway. So we're just going to let them sort it out.
I actually think they did make a decision, to your point. I think their decision was do nothing.
Do that,
and that was what my gut instinct was telling me while watching the race. I haven't veered away from that after the race. I think they did the right thing at that point in the race. That's the big talking point out today, that moment for the race from McLaren. I just think they handled it really well. Because McLaren have been criticised in the past for dawdling about, not doing anything. But you can do too much. You can micromanage too much as well. And I think they got that balance right today.
And them getting that balance right and not doing anything means that we don't have any good radio radar content.
No, we haven't. I think this is the first time since we've introduced this feature, which was sort of our listeners demanded we introduce it. Nothing jumped out at me there, but Fast Curious Pod on socials, if we've missed anything for Radio Radar, but there was nothing that jumped out at me. Even Lewis was very well behaved too. Lewis didn't get sassy at any point. And Lewis at one point, I thought he was going to argue back to his race engineer when Lewis said we should undercut or something. And he went, there's no gap. And he just went, Understood. I was like,
Okay.
oh, Lewis, I thought you were going to. That's the point where you normally go, you idiots, you stupid morons. But at this point, it was like, yeah, no, understood.
Lando, after the race, watching his post-race interview, seemed a little bit sad still. Maybe not sad, but he just seemed a little bit, oh. And he said what he needs to sort out is Saturday. His Sundays are great, but his Saturdays are not great. Why? Why are some drivers like this? Why can't some drivers do well in qualifying and then they turn up on Sunday?
Well, Lando isn't like this. Lando's analysis was spot on. If you look across all of the weekend sessions, there tends to be almost nothing between them. On Friday practice, in fact, on a couple of Fridays, Lando's looked quicker. On race days, if you had to force me to pick an overall quicker driver across a whole weekend, it would be Oscar this season, but only just. But Lando's spot on. He's giving himself way too much to do on a Sunday because he's having a bad qualifying session. Now, Betty, we've discussed this on the podcast before, saying, well, why are some drivers like this? Actually, I don't think Lando is. I think it's, historically speaking, he's not had too much of a problem across his career in qualifying. But we've heard towards the start of the season that McLaren have said, yes, this car's quick, but it's difficult to handle. There is something about this particular season, this particular year, this particular McLaren that Lando struggles with getting absolutely everything out of over the course of one lap. It's all right being good over the course of a race. Qualifying's a different skill set. It's I need to extract 100% and I need to do it now. And that is what Oscar is better at this season. And previously, that wasn't the case at McLaren. So I have not got the answer to that. I don't think Lando fully has the answer to that yet, but a pattern is starting to emerge that I actually don't think Lando is. I don't think it's a disaster. I don't think he's way off. I think they're really close, but it's Saturdays, and that's where McLaren need to go and sit in a dark room, or MTC, probably more likely, a very bright room. It's all very silver and orange, a very spaceship-like room.
Spaceshipy.
Look at the data. I mean, they won't get time to go back to MTC. They're going to go straight to Monaco, aren't they? They need to find a room, and that's doable in Formula One. Rooms are around. They need to sit down. They need a chair. They need a chair in a room, and they need to go, let's look at the data. What's going wrong of a Saturday? Because that is what is stopping Lando Norris being, the sort of championship. That's what's giving Oscar the advantage in the championship.
Do you reckon it's a mental thing?
I don't know. I think a lot of people are very quick. And Betty, a podcast I missed, you spoke really well on this, at saying Lando is harder on himself. That's the way he is mentally. That's the way he is. A lot of people are quite quick to say with Lando, oh, it's the mental game. Oh, it's mentality. I don't know if it is. It could be Daniel Ricciardo, when he lost it later in his career, people were saying, is it a mental thing? It probably turned out more thought it was the brakes. It was a technical thing. Daniel struggled with the later generation of car in his career in terms of getting it to stop, which was such a strength of his before. I wonder whether there's something like that. Is it this particular characteristic of this McLaren? It could be a mental thing. It could be a technical thing. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know more than Lando or McLaren in this situation because they've got more data than me. I don't know. It could be either.
Well, you never know. Don't doubt yourself, Christian. You've got
Well,
an
bless you.
incredible knowledge base. As he drinks his Corona. You drink your Corona. Actually, keep sipping because we're going to talk about Ferrari in a sec. But first, it's a little break.
Lovely adverts. Lovely messages about what you can spend your money on. I thought that was great. And speaking of spending money, if you want to go to the British Grand Prix, it's not too late. We'll be there and we'll tell you very soon where we're going to be and where to spot us and that sort of thing. We'll do that in a future episode. But it's not too late for you to be there if you want to be, because Gullivers Travel are the team we have teamed up with on the Fast and the Curious in the last few weeks to offer our listeners the chance to get to races, but not just get to races in terms of buy tickets, but have to then sort everything out yourself. They're wonderful, good, kind people who just sort everything out for you. And I think it's a magnificent service they offer. I think they should be at the very least offered Pride of Britain awards, if not CBEs.
Yes, CBE, MBE, whatever.
OBE.
Throw it all at them. Throw it all at them. They've got packages available, don't they, to help you to the final race of the season as well. Abu Dhabi, if that's what you want to go to. Or what about Singapore? One of the most spectacular races on the calendar. Or, as Christian's just said, They could give you a package at Silverstone. They saw everything.
And it's not just that you have to get the package. It's like, this is what we're going to do. They will let you customize it. So you can get your range of tickets, your general admissions, your grandstands, your hospitalities, if you're really going out and you want to treat yourself, it's your birthday, for example. Or if when you're in the area, you think, I'll have a tour. I'm guessing that's more geared towards Singapore and Abu Dhabi. There's not much to tour in Silverstone. It's like, this is a field and this is a cow. I expect they'll also be able to sort out tours of the vicinity of the, the paddock and that sort of thing, whatever. Anyway, they'll let you customize your options. If you want a hotel, maybe you want to bolt a couple of nights on the end to go and see Abu Dhabi. Yeah, they'll sort it. And I said this on the last one, you just give them a ring and you can just sort it out. Numbers on the website, or you can select it all and there's different options. It's brilliant. They're lovely people at Gullivers. I'm very fond of them. And when I was on my way back from Miami, I saw a man with a Gullivers Travel bag and I wanted to go, do you work for Gullivers? But I thought that's a bit weird. I've never known the sort of etiquette, but I think they're in Monaco. Well, they are in Monaco because we were talking about the packages. So I might go and say hello and say they're nice people. Yeah, I'll try.
Go and say hello. If you see someone in the street you want to say hello to, Christian, say hello to them. All the links, everyone, are in the description of this episode.
They are indeed. Should we talk about Ferrari?
Yeah, let's talk about Ferrari because, oh my God, what an absolute recovery from Ferrari after that disaster in qualifying. I think fans will be very, very happy. But, I mean, I don't know. I don't actually know where to start Ferrari, to be honest, because amazing recovery, but still, guys, come on.
Well, isn't it funny? Both in terms of Oscar Piastri not winning the Grand Prix. And in terms of Ferrari, no, we didn't win it, unfortunately for Oscar. We're doing a completely different debrief to the race debrief I expected to be doing a few hours ago. It just shows you how things can change over a weekend. So Oscar's put it on pole and you think, it's going to be Oscar for the win, isn't it? And Max wins. Ferrari have a monumentally bad qualifying. And then you're going, okay. They recovered quite well, yeah. And also, it was nice to hear Anthony Davidson being like, what have they done? Because I was thinking the same. I was like, well, I don't get it. Like, what have they done? But I think it's just at this point we're talking, they just seem to have a car far better on race pace than it was quali. And I didn't expect them from quali to just be able to just have such a good recovery drive. So, yeah, it just seemed like they got a much better race package. Again, this is the thing with Formula One. You can't always explain all of it all the time. And I don't fully know why that was at this stage. Maybe it will become more clear in the week. But just a far better Sunday. So credit to the team for whatever they did, if they did anything. But also credit to both the drivers, because as we saw last time in Miami, we have definitely seen over these last two Grand Prix, Betty, Lewis get closer to Charles, and they both did really well today. They both drove individually really well. And I thought Charles Leclerc was unlucky with his battle with Alex Albon as well.
Hamilton starting P12 and finishing P4 is pretty incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, what a drive from Hamilton. But I also felt like his strategy, the Ferrari strategy, was just a bit better than it usually is. They seemed a lot more linked up. It seemed like they were making the right calls.
And Lewis was helped out by the safety car, sure. Charles got unlucky with the safety car, fine. But generally speaking, yeah, they did maximise the package today, Betty. You're absolutely right. Their overtaking was excellent. I mean, Lewis showing with some brilliant overtaking manoeuvres that he was really good. And actually, Charles Leclerc, I think, gave the position back to Alex Albon late on through fear of getting a 10-second penalty because he knew he was under investigation. Probably the right thing to do. Looking at the replays, I think this is where I get a bit frustrated with the FIA not applying their own rules, because I thought Leclerc had enough. And of course, it's subjective, so I do understand that. But I thought Leclerc had enough. Was alongside enough to take the line he did. I thought that was a racing incident. That Alex went wide, Charles held his position. It's a gravel trap, as we've said at the start of the podcast. That makes for entertaining racing. Thought Alex did well to rally cross it across and hold it, but I thought Charles was unlucky there. I didn't think that should have gone under investigation. Whether it would have been a penalty or not, had the investigation actually played out, who knows? But regardless, a good recovery drive from Ferrari today. We shouldn't let it mask the fact that they should be, pushing by this point, this end of this rule set, pushing for wins, pushing for podiums. We've seen Leclerc podiums, we've seen Hamilton do well in sprint races, but it's still not where they should be, but it's a damn sight better than we thought it would be on Saturday.
I wonder if they're just starting to things are starting to click. Hamilton's starting to get more used to the team, more used to the car. Back-to-back races will help
Definitely,
that as well. So maybe
definitely.
they just needed like a little bit of time. But it will be interesting to see what they do in Monaco, won't it? It will be interesting to see what he can do there.
Qualifying is key. Don't have a
Yeah.
bad Saturday there, you are absolutely screwed. So, yes.
Talking about the whole Alex Albon thing, I get what you're saying, but at
Yes.
the same time, Alex Albon was pushed off. So I sort of disagree with you a little bit.
But if you are slightly ahead going into the corner,
Yeah.
the rules state that you've got the right to take the racing line, which Charles Leclerc did. So sometimes I don't think he was pushed off. I think Leclerc got dominance of the corner, took the racing line as you would, and therefore Alex had nowhere to go. Yeah. So for me, looking at the rules as they're written at the moment, for me, Leclerc had just a smidgen ahead and could therefore was entitled to take that racing line, and Alex should have backed out to avoid going off. It's close. It's close.
Very
It's
close,
not
isn't it?
yeah, but I just think Charles Leclerc was unlucky, but it's close.
Yeah, Charles Leclerc also afterwards was like, "What the hell? We're supposed to be racing. Is this? It's not racing anymore if you're like this." And I do agree with that as well, actually.
I completely agree with it. There was a whole thing a few years ago after Vettel was unfairly punished of let them race, and we do seem to have forgotten that a little bit. So I quite agree.
Yeah, fair enough. But there was one point when I thought Alex Albon was going to get on the podium. And I was like, where's the bloody champagne?
I'd have nipped to Tesco down the road and got champagne for this podcast recording if Alex was on the podium. Absolutely. I'd have ditched I wasn't planning on having a drink, but I thought, sorry, I've had a long way and it's sunny. So, but I'd have been on the champagne if it would have been champagne instead of Corona if Alex Albon won. They don't do this on the checkered flag, do they, on the BBC? Sit there having a drink as they're doing the podcast on a balcony.
No, I mean, you look like you're living your best life, pal.
I'm having a nice afternoon. What can I say? There's a cute dog walking past as well.
You're having a nice afternoon. I'll tell you who didn't, Kimi Antonelli. I was thinking about this, actually. Everyone is having so much bad luck at their home races. Poor Kimi Antonelli. You had Oscar in Australia and you had Yuki at the Japanese Grand Prix. It's the home race thing.
Good luck next weekend, Charles, in Monaco.
Yeah, good luck, Charles. Don't you feel so sorry for him, though? Especially because all of his classmates were there. He brought the whole bloody school.
Yeah, but I'm not worried about him. Of course, what happened in the race happened, but pace-wise, it wasn't as good this weekend. Didn't get into Q3, didn't look anywhere near George's level. But listen, he's so young to be in that seat that you will see this season, like I said in the preview show, flashes of speed like we saw for the Miami sprint qualifying, flashes of brilliance, and you will occasionally see moments of learning. Look at the evolution in Oscar Piastri's career. Look at the weaknesses he's turned into strengths. There was not too long ago we were saying, but Oscar struggles to look after the tyres. Oscar struggles in race pace compared to Lando. Well, not anymore because of the experience. Kimi's not had a great weekend. I'm not worried about him. I still think he's doing absolutely fine. I still think he's going to get better and better. He's in a great environment to do that. Lovely little video where Mercedes posted this weekend of him seeing Lewis's message in the motorhome, which was very, very sweet. But they didn't show what the message was. I just thought, that was very sweet. So I'm not worried about Kimi. Not a great weekend, but I'm not worried about him, Betty.
Not worried about Kimi. Are you worried about Franco Colapinto?
I am. Firstly, some of the most spectacular communication in the world from Alpine this weekend. Oh God! So we still don't fully know who's in charge. Still fully don't know who's in charge because, so we've got Flavio assuming the role of team principal despite not actually being an Alpine employee and goodness knows. And then Flavio comes out and goes, I heard from somewhere he's only got 5 races. Don't know where they got that from. Your Twitter page, Flavio. The team said it. The team said it. So goodness knows what the plan is there. Everyone made a thing of the 5 races and Flavio's like, don't know where people have got that from. Alpine, Flavio, that's where people have got that from. Alpine. Towards the end of Franco last season, towards the end of his run in the Williams, he seemed to be developing a reputation for being a bit of a crasher. And then this weekend, he's had a bad crash. That's this weekend. Oh, and by the way, say anything negative about Franco, all the Argentinians come out. Ooh, it's like when you say something about Sergio Perez and the Mexicans don't like it. So the YouTube comments below, slate me, go on, by all means. I won't read them, but have a lovely time. I don't think Franco was an improvement on Jack Doohan this weekend. And I think, we talk about Lewis learning more and more at Ferrari. Jack was showing flashes of speed, and I don't think, we did a whole podcast on this. I don't think necessarily deserved to be dropped. So was this an improvement on Jack Doohan? No, it wasn't. So that team just seemed a total mess. We don't know who's running it. We don't know how. You've got Flavio coming in saying, "Oh, the driver's got longer than they have." Yeah, Franco's clearly got talent, so we'll see what happens in time. But there's a lot of work to do with that team.
This is what I was going to say. We know Franco is a talented driver. We know that he's got it in his locker. I think he just give him a little bit of time. Who knows? Will it be 5 races or more? Nobody bloody knows. But
who knows?
I think the pressure that must be on his shoulders going into this, with all of the stuff going on at Alpine and, stepping into the car, I think, give him some time. But
I agree.
Someone that is doing really well is Isaac Hajar.
Yeah.
Love him. I actually love him.
I was really, really impressed with him this weekend to bring it into the points. I forget where he finished. Was it 9th? P8 in the end. Yeah.
Oh, good.
I was really, really impressed with him. Yeah. No, he was 9. He was 9th.
Oh yeah, sorry. Carlos Sainz was 8th.
Sainz was 8th. Hajar was 9th. Yeah. Sorry, I was the same. I couldn't remember which way around they finished. I just think Isaac, in what's been a tumultuous season for all the Red Bull drivers, unless you're Max Verstappen, Yuki's made the switch over. It's not been horrific. Doesn't look great. Liam seems to be struggling back in the RB. Doesn't seem to be as comfortable as he was in that car last year. And meanwhile, Isaac is putting together, the sort of rookie season that suggests he's going to be in this sport for a long time. I've said before that when I observe him in the paddock, he looks like he's having a great time. He just looks like he's enjoying himself. The one time I interviewed him was after a mildly good free practice session, and he was beaming. Like, I enjoyed that so much, which is lovely. That's the key to this. If you can thrive under the pressure and enjoy yourself, and he seems like a driver that's enjoying himself, and that's really key. So to get that RB up into the points today, really good achievement. Tricky circuit, Imola, for a rookie. One mistake, you're in the gravel. I mean, look at the crashes we saw in qualifying that proved that. Really, I'm impressed with him this race. I'm impressed with him for the season. And we're hoping to get Isaac on. Negotiations have started between the Fast and the Curious and the lovely people at RB. So I'd love to speak to Isaac. I think he's doing on this podcast. I think he's doing brilliantly. I think he'd be good. I think he'd get us, Betty, as well. I think we should have a nice chat.
Yeah, I'd love him. I do love him. I think he's doing brilliantly. I just love everything about him, his personality, how chilled he is, how happy he is, how he's jumping on the social media hypes and doing trends. Like, you go, Isaac. You go, Isaac Hajar. I did Carlos Sainz dirty, obviously, by saying that Hajar finished in front of him. But Carlos Sainz 8th. Williams double points again. So, Williams are doing so well. And Alex Albon in our last episode said, yeah, but I just don't know how long it's going to last for. Well,
they're having a great season.
It's going well, Williams.
The point I jokingly said to Alex when he was on in the last episode was, have you been lying to us? Because you were saying you're focusing on 2026 and you've made such a leap forward in 2025. Because they're of course not lying to us. I'm being silly. Because statistically, you took 100% of the team, because such a large percentage chunk of the team are looking at 2026. To have made the step forward into 2025 is outstanding. Carlos has been getting up to speed with the team and is doing so, and he's particularly showing he's actually showing over one lap that his true potential. Maybe struggling a little bit more than Alex in the race, but that will come in time. I've no doubt that will come in time. They're just an impressive outfit. I've said it a few times on the podcast recently. And Alex Albon, by the way, again, he just gets the most out of the car. And if you're looking at Red Bull, who've gone from Sergio Perez, who started well in the seat but then faded, the Liam Lawson debacle. Now Yuki seems... Yuki had a decent drive today, recovery drive, but, he's not set the world alight since getting into that seat. I said on Twitter, I don't think Red Bull should have let Albon go. I don't think Perez had done any better than Albon in that seat. I stand by that. I really stand by that. But someone replied to me, and they made a really good point. Maybe Albon wouldn't be the driver he is today if he hadn't gone through that, and maybe Williams have made him better, and it's such a good point. Whatever. If I'm Christian Horner, I'm sat looking, thinking, shouldn't have let him go. And there were rumours that Red Bull inquired about getting him back as well, and that wouldn't surprise me at all.
I remember.
So I think he's top. I think he's a top driver. I think he's a top driver. I think he's another one. You know, I said about George Russell the other day that he's driving well enough to fight for a championship. I'd put Albon up there. You give him the car, Albon would fight for a title. Brilliant drive today.
Oh, I'd love to see it. We often talk about your cubby hole. Do you have anything in your cubby hole today?
I do. I was thinking I was going to give it to Aston Martin because they, for the first time in a while, all right, they didn't get the points in the race. Race pace seemed a bit tricky, but they at least bought upgrades that have improved the car. And they've been really struggling with that. Every upgrade they've bought for ages just hasn't improved anything.
Qualifying was good.
Yeah, okay, a step forward. But they didn't get in the points, so they're not having the illustrious honour of the cubby hole. Therefore, I'm being hypocritical because the person who is in the cubby hole also didn't get in the points. But I thought it was a proper old-school Nico Hülkenberg drive today. I still think Hull could be sat there thinking, I'd rather be in a Haas, actually. I thought he might have made a mistake in joining the Audi project. But he's driving the worst car on the grid and was running in the points for a good amount of time today. And he finished P12 in the end, but that's because of the car, not him. I think Nico Hülkenberg had a quietly brilliant race today and is proving that he is still operating at such a high level. You know, Sauber have got a lot of work to do and it's a very long-term project there, fine. But Nico had a really good drive today, so he gets to enter the cubby hole today.
Do you think that Kick Sauber are the worst car on the grid? Do you not think Alpine are up there?
No, I don't. I think the Alpine is overall a better package than the Kick Sauber. I think what Gasly's able to do in that car shows that. I think before that, Aston Martin were probably behind Alpine as well, actually. So now it's probably close between them. But no, the Sauber's, for me, the slowest car on the grid. And it's a long-term project to fix that as it goes into Audi next year.
That will be interesting. 2026, though, in the words of James Vowles, it all happens in 2026. We're going to be back on Thursday, but Christian, you are packing your bags and you're off to Monaco.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. I'll be interested to talk on the pod about like what it's like, because obviously being such a huge F1 fan growing up, all right, you've now got Vegas, you've now got Miami, whatever, but Monaco is still so special, and I'm properly intrigued to see what it's like. I'm a very lucky boy. I obviously get to, for people who are finding the podcast all the time, and I'm still getting messages all the time. People are like, I've only just discovered the pod. So I'm very lucky that I get to go to some races because I work for F1 and make a podcast for them. So I'm a lucky boy. So I will look forward to feeding back what it's like, because the F1 fan in me is like, I'm excited and intrigued to see what this event's like. Because apparently it's also like, obviously it's amazing, but it's also quite chaotic and smaller than an average Grand Prix. And that we're staying miles away from Monaco. So I'm like braced for like a real chaos few days, but like it should be interesting. So I'll talk a little bit about what the craziness of it's like. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm so intrigued. But you obviously get all of the celebrities and you get all the influencers, and it is it's one of those Grand Prix as well, isn't it? It's very flash. I wonder what the racing will be like, because it's hard to overtake. Yeah,
so we're hearing obviously that there's going to be a compulsory second pit stop to force them to do some strategy. This era of F1 car, you can't really overtake in Monaco. It used to be hard, now it's pretty much impossible. We'll talk more about this in the week. But qualifying's big, guys. Qualifying's big. We'll talk all about this on the next episode of The Fast and the Curious. I can't do another podcast on the balcony because not only the planes, but there is a gorgeous golden retriever just walking past, and it's just like, it's so distracting. White golden retriever like my mum and dad's dog Teddy.
I thought you were going to say there is a gorgeous man walking past. I was like, bloody hell. Keep it together, Christian. But no, golden retriever.
It's like the old Little Britain sketch. Oh, he's gorgeous.
Oh,
no,
he's gorgeous.
No, it was a cute golden retriever that caught my eye on, because I'm up on the balcony, so I can see the streets below. And no, I was distracted by golden retriever, not a man, actually, Derek.
Well, I am surprised, actually, Simon. Anyway, then, Christian, I'll let you go and chase that golden retriever down the street. Thank you very much for watching or listening. Please subscribe to us as well, guys, and let all of your friends know about us if you haven't already, because it really does help keep us going. We will see you on Thursday, but until then, goodbye.
Goodbye from the balcony.